Ferris State University. Hi students, do you know what time it is? It's time to do some CAD. We are going to use Solid Edge for the first time today, and in this video we're going to take an overview look at Solid Edge. We're going to go through the menus, the user interface, and we're going to play with a coffee pot. So please follow along, make sure you understand everything we're doing in these videos, and become proficient with how to move around in Solid Edge. I'm not going to take anything for granted. I'm working in Windows 10 now, which is a strange new world, and we need to start Solid Edge. Solid Edge is an icon on your desktop right here, but what do you do if that's missing? Come down to the Windows Start button, click on that, and this will open up your program list in what are called live tiles on the right-hand side over here. And you can scroll up and down and you can find Solid Edge. It'll be down in the SSS Solid Edge right there. Or watch this. You can just start typing. You can type in ST8 and it'll match any program or application that you have on your computer that has ST8 in it. So I'm going to click on that and launch Solid Edge. Once Solid Edge loads, you're on the Start a New Project or Part or Assembly screen. We're going to skip this for right now. We'll come back to this when we make our first part. What I'd like you to do is go click on the application icon in the upper left-hand corner and go into Open. And what I'd like you to do is click on this PC, then click on the C drive, C:, then click on the Program Files folder, go into Solid Edge ST8, go into Training, and pick out the coffee pot assembly. And you'll notice that there are two coffee pots. One is an assembly file and one is a part file. We want the assembly, and that it means that there are multiple parts put together in there. So we'll click on that, and we can double click it or click Open. And again, in case you missed it, C, Program Files, Solid Edge ST8, Training, Coffee Pot Assembly. Click Open. This pulls up an assembly of the coffee pot. And what I'm doing right now is I'm holding down the middle mouse button on the mouse, and I'm moving the mouse around. That's Orbit. That lets me look at my 3D objects. Okay, so let's start off by talking about the mouse. CAD works best with a 3-button mouse. And that's a button on the left for picking things, like drawing a window like this, a selection window. A right mouse button for pulling up the menu like so. A middle mouse button for orbiting and rotating. And then if you roll the mouse button or the mouse wheel, if you roll the wheel, it zooms in and it zooms out. Give that a try. Zoom in and zoom out. Orbit, zoom in, zoom out. So that's what the wheel does for you. Also, if you hold down the Shift key and you hold down the mouse wheel, you can pan back and forth, left and right. Okay, so that's panning. Now, some of you are saying, oh no, I don't have a mouse wheel. What do I do? Well, on the bottom bottom right-hand corner of the screen here, there are some little icons. And if you pick Zoom, click that one, see how it turns yellow. If you hold down the left mouse button or the touchpad and you slide or move the mouse, that will zoom in and out. Also, if you hold down, click on Pan, hold down the left mouse button, you can move back and forth like that. You can pan back and forth. And the same thing down here with Orbit. You can click on that and then use the left mouse button to rotate and orbit around. So that's for people that don't have a touchpad or a 3-button mouse. But everybody get a 3-button mouse. They're not very expensive. Very, very useful to have. Okay, so let's talk about our drawing views and the Viewcube. In engineering graphics, we learned about front, right, top. And we learned about our 6 orthographic views. In the right-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner, we have what's called the Viewcube. And if I click on the top of the Viewcube, it takes me to the top. And these arrows will rotate. And these triangles will rotate 90 degrees. So I'll go from right to bottom, bottom to left, left to top. There are also some keyboard shortcuts. You can press Control F, as in front, and that'll take me to the front view. Control T for top view. Control I for isometric view. And I put a list of shortcuts into the course for this week, so you can use those if you'd like. I like the shortcuts better than the Viewcube. That's just me. Okay, and isometric, Control I. There we go. So this is our drawing area or our model area, this big area of the screen, our Viewcube, and if we don't have a 3-button mouse, our modifier buttons down here that will control what our left mouse button does. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the interface. On the top up here, we have something called the ribbon. And if you've been using the new Microsoft Word or Windows 10, you've seen the ribbon, and you'll notice that every time I click a tab, the ribbon changes. So sometimes you'll be like, oh no, where did my drawing tools go? I can't find them. It just simply means you're on the wrong tab of the ribbon and you need to switch back to home. That'll be the tab you use the most in our class. Also, you'll notice that if you let the mouse cursor hover over any of the tools, it'll pop open a window and it'll give you help on that particular tool or command. And if I were to push F1 right now, it would open up a web browser and it would open up help that comes from the Solid Edge website, giving me more information on how to use this command. So F1 works just about anywhere you're at. Really nice. Upper left-hand corner, we have the application button. This is where we can open and save files and print and do things like that. We have the undo and redo buttons. That's this arrow going back and this arrow going forward. So this will undo a change or redo a change. Then moving down here, we have something called the Pathfinder, or some CAD packages call it the parts list or the parts tree. And this just keeps track of everything you're working on. And you can see right now, if I click on these, that they'll highlight on the right-hand side in the model. And if I click on the strainer highlights. There's a checkbox next to the strainer. If I click that, the strainer will get turned off. So I'll put all the checkbox back on and let my coffee pot reappear. There we go. I've got the whole coffee pot back now. And we're down to the last two pieces of the interface. If I move my mouse cursor to the left, there are flyout menus which will appear. And I just kind of hover it there for a second and they pop up. We don't use them all the time, so they hide off the side of the screen. And if I were to grab this air cleaner right here and grab it and pull it in, that would pull in an air cleaner. And you'll notice that it brings in this options bar here, which asks me information on, well, how do you want to constrain and assemble this air filter with the rest of this coffee pot? So what I want to tell you about is if you get into something like this and you want out of it, simply push the escape button. So I press escape right now. You'll notice that bar appeared, and then wherever this thing ended up is where it ended up. Okay. If I come over here and right click, I can delete that and get rid of that. Okay, so these are the flyouts, and there are all sorts of really interesting things in here. If you need gears, a lot of standard parts are in here. So that is where we'll find some of this stuff in the second semester class. And then the last thing I want to show you is on the very, very bottom. I got to get this to go away, excuse me. It's called the prompt bar. And what the prompt bar does is it prompts you for information. So let's say, for example, let me just get a sketch going. So I have a sketch going and I'm going to draw a circle. So I click on circle, read the prompt bar. What does it say? It says click for the center point of the circle. So I'll click, and then it says snap or click a point on the circle, or snap to key point, center, endpoint, midpoint, or intersection. So what the prompt bar does is when you're in a tool or command and you're moving through the various steps that you need to do to create something, it gives you information as to what it is you need to do next. So that's an overview of the Solid Edge interface. And it'll take a while to get the hang of it. It's like flying an airplane and with all the gauges, but you'll eventually get the hang of it and you'll get the mental model for it. In the next video, we're going to create our very first part.